On a candlelit evening, shrouded in whispers and velvet curtains, Prospero the Enchanter entertained a small, select audience with theatrical flourish. His cabin was aglow with golden lights, a gentle cascade of warmth spilling over the richly embroidered draperies. His movements, graceful as a dance, enchanted the crowd, drawing gasps as reeds turned into butterflies and silken scarves unfurled into glittering showers of sparks. Amid the applause, a child watched in silence. Celia, his daughter, eyes wide and illuminated by wonder. But behind Prospero's glamorous facade was ambition, a heartbeat that pulsed relentlessly beneath his charming demeanor. When the performances ended, audiences departed under velvet skies streaked silver by moonlight. Celia, left alone, stood quietly on the stage as Prospero knelt beside her, his gaze alight but serious. "Are you ready?" he whispered softly, his voice gentle yet taut with hidden intentions. Small hands trembled uncertainly, but her eyes shone bright and determined as she nodded, unaware of the lifelong bond that her innocent gesture had sealed. Across the sprawling city, hidden amidst labyrinthine alleys and nestled quietly behind ivy-drenched walls, a stately mansion hosted a clandestine meeting. Late-night lanterns cast flickering shadows onto walls lined with countless ancient books, leather-bound tomes whispering their mysteries. An elegantly dressed gentleman, known only as Alexander, sat silently, fingers steepled thoughtfully beneath a face shadowed by secrecy, eyes calmly calculating. Before him stood Marco Alistair, a youth with soft dark curls framing intense eyes that mirrored an eager yet haunted soul. "I will learn quickly, I promise," Marco whispered, voice resolute, though anxiety skittered beneath his confidence. Alexander examined him silently, nodding with reserved approval. "You shall need more than willingness. There are trials ahead, boy." Marco's breath quickened, his heartbeat echoing the unspoken threat that marked the dawn of his uncertain future. As Alexander rose gracefully to his feet, the room seemed to hold its breath. Let your journey begin." His voice resonated softly through the immense library, leaving Marco's fate bound irrevocably to an unknown destiny. Night had fallen like a velvet curtain when Celia Bowen first crossed beneath the wrought iron arches of Le Cirque des Rêves. She moved slowly past the gleaming black and white striped tents, where warm candlelight spilled invitingly out into the cool evening air. Intrigued visitors murmured in quiet awe, drawn by scents of caramel apples, cinnamon pastries, and drifts of delicate smoke perfumed with lavender. Celia felt herself drawn towards one tent glowing softly from within, as though it pulsed gently with its own heartbeat. Inside, the sweet fragrance was intoxicating, and the candle flames danced curiously upon the silk-draped walls. "Welcome," whispered a woman dressed entirely in shimmering silver, delicate ribbons fluttering as she gestured toward a crystal pedestal. Celia, taking a deep, steadying breath, stepped forward as the tent curtains whispered closed behind her. A crystal orb rested before her, rippling softly with iridescent lights. As Celia reached out to brush her fingers upon it, the orb trembled beneath her touch, shifting in color to mirror her very heartbeat. Across the circus grounds, Marco Alistair wound through the crowds, observing quietly as excitement bloomed among visitors exploring wonder after enchanting wonder. Music flowed around him like streams of liquid silk, melodic and mysterious. As he turned toward the carousel, Marco paused abruptly, eyes widening in fascinated astonishment. The carousel spun gracefully, each intricately carved creature come vividly to life, adorned in brilliant hues and prior craftsmanship. A strikingly beautiful acrobat, her hair flaming red and leggings glittering in gold thread, somersaulted effortlessly from a decorated steed. Nearby stood an elderly gentleman with a neatly trimmed beard and rich velvet coat, observing Marco closely. Their eyes met briefly, grey piercing into dark, as the man lifted his hat halfway, a slight knowing smile on his lips, before quickly vanishing into the throng of spectators. Suddenly, filled with uneasy curiosity, Marco made to follow, only to find his path abruptly cut off as ribbons of shimmering silver cascaded down from a hidden source above, enveloping him in their whisper-soft embrace. Startled, Marco struggled gently, but the ribbons slowly spun him about, revealing a mysterious silhouette approaching through the swirling fabric. As the gates of Le Cirque des Rêves unfold each evening at sunset, streams of visitors flood into the dazzling maze of black and white striped tents. In one quiet corner, Celia Bowen moves softly, gathering whispers of enchantment around her fingers. Small paper butterflies drift gently through the air, each one carrying secrets between their delicate wings. Across the circus ground, Marco Alistair threads constellations into the lanterns lining the pathways, setting them aglow like captured starfire. His breath catches as he senses another spark of magic swirling nearby, a curious yet comforting presence that seems invisibly linked to his very soul. The circus hums with whispers of wonder, of delightful illusions and ever-changing pathways. But under the wonderment, beneath the sweet fragrance of spun sugar and candied apples, murmurs among the performers suggest something extraordinary is at hand. They sense it, a faint, subtle vibration in the air, suggesting their beloved circus is more than what it seems, that it is a stage for something greater. Late one night, amidst the soft laughter and twinkling stardust, Celia and Marco find themselves trailing the same invisible thread, their enchantments crossing paths unintentionally. Their eyes meet through a veil of shifting shadows, both startled by the intensity and strength felt in this silent intersection. For a heartbeat, they linger, wondering silently, feeling the gentle pull between rivalry and wonder. "Who was that?" Marco whispers into the darkness, though he already senses an answer deep within his heart. Celia's vivid dreams become disturbed soon after their unexpected meeting. She finds herself standing alone in a boundless maze, hedges like towering walls climbing endlessly upward, twisting labyrinth paths illuminated only by moonlight. Yet despite the fear, a strange comfort fills her, as if she is no longer entirely alone in this magical arena. Simultaneously, Marco begins to obsessively document his observations and experiments. Inky notes spill across parchment, mapping connections and symbols, his room cluttered with towers of dusty old books and scattered scribbles. He is fixated on understanding how deeply intertwined his magic has become with the circus and the mysterious performer who sparks such delicate curiosity within him. One evening, Marco senses an eerily familiar enchantment blossoming within one of the performance tents, a garden enclosed in glass, eternally alive and thriving under starlight without sun or soil. Drawn uncontrollably, he follows the magical trail deeper inside, feeling the enchantment pulse gently beneath every step. But what he finds surprises him. Celia stands waiting in the garden's heart, their gaze locking again, sparks igniting the air between them like invisible fireworks. "We've both placed enchanted touches here," Celia whispers, her voice delicately vulnerable and curious. "Are you the answer? Or just another part of this puzzle?" Before Marco can respond, a sudden flurry of movement, an unseen force interrupts their meeting, shaking the garden and breaking the enchantment. Magic spirals wildly out of control, petals flying like frightened birds, surrounding them in an overwhelming storm as the world darkens suddenly around them, severing their connection and plunging into uncertainty. As autumn whisperingly faded into winter, the Night Circus became even more wondrous, the air perfumed with cinnamon and burning embers, Celia wandered silently through intricately woven paths, illuminated by lanterns of amber and violet, each carefully suspended along silk threads, enchanting in their quiet luminance. Her fingertips gently grazed the tiny, floating glass orbs, carrying flickering candles, causing them to pulse softly with her hidden magic. Across the pathways, Marco, hidden beneath a velvet cloak embroidered with subtle celestial patterns, followed her unnoticed, his sharp gaze tracing the delicate magic she wove so naturally through the fabric of the circus. In a secluded corner, sheltered behind crimson curtains and ivy strands, they finally met. Marco stepped forward, a warm intensity in his eyes, as he regarded Celia with both admiration and caution. "The illusions you've crafted are exquisite," he whispered reverently, his voice blending into the soft murmur of the night. "And yet," Celia replied gently, her eyes challenging and enigmatic, "they remain mere illusions. True magic lies within deeper, unseen threads." A moment filled the gap between them, heavier than the silence around them, both aware, painfully, vividly aware, that their magic, intertwined, had given life to something greater, something intoxicating and frighteningly beyond their master's intent. Marco reached toward her, his fingertips brushing softly against Celia's hand, his heart quickening at the electric surge he felt from the contact. But before their touch could deepen, an unfamiliar melody rang clearly in the distance, urgent and peculiar, breaking the spell and suddenly jarring the quiet intimacy. Alarmed, Celia withdrew her hand, instincts sharpened. Marco turned, noticing the shadows dancing unnaturally across the ivory tents in the near distance. Was there someone watching, aware of their forbidden meeting? Elsewhere in the circus, young Bailey moved entranced from tent to tent, guided as always by the irresistible blend of curiosity and wonder. Tonight, however, felt different. The air tingled with both anticipation and a nearly imperceptible unease. As Bailey stepped into a tent adorned entirely in white feathers, cascading from ceiling to floor, the soft murmurs nearby made him hesitate. A dreamy voice called gently, "There's no need to be afraid." A young woman emerged from amongst the feathers, her eyes bright, hair tumbling around her shoulders in soft, radiant curls, appearing ethereal and warm. "My name is Poppet. I've been waiting for you." Surprised and intrigued, Bailey stepped forward, feeling his cheeks grow warm. "Waiting for me? But how?" Poppet offered a knowing smile, enigmatic yet comforting. "Can you keep a secret?" she asked gently, her gaze suddenly grave and earnest. Bailey nodded, breathless with anticipation. "Things aren't entirely safe anymore," she explained softly. "Something dark and powerful festers, hidden beneath the circus, threaded within our dreams and illusions." She hesitated as if unsure how much to reveal, then added quietly, "I've seen your arrival in my visions, and I fear we may all be in danger. Only someone from outside our world can help us now." Bailey, pulse racing, opened his mouth to ask more, but just then, the silhouette of someone standing silently outside the feathered tent startled them both. Poppet turned sharply, eyes widening in sudden alarm. The shadow loomed, unmoving, but clearly aware it had been noticed. "He's here," Poppet whispered urgently, grasping Bailey's hand. Fear and resolve mingling in her eyes, she drew Bailey backwards, deeper among the silent feathers, their white softness suddenly offering little comfort against the unknown threat waiting just outside.
Thank you for venturing into this realm with me. If you crave more enchanted worlds, mythical battles, and secrets whispered from ancient pages, join the Guild of Storybound Explorers. Subscribe now and ring the bell to unlock every new quest the moment it drops. The next chapter awaits. Will you answer the call?